This is our net zero build. We're standing here in the gray room. You can see these amazing multi-sliders from Benelli, which is part of Pella Corporate. These are triple pane windows. Additionally, this is really important. At the end of the video, we're going to talk about a little, I won't call it a mishap, more of a miscommunication, something that's overlooked, which happens in our business. There's millions of details in our builds. We're going to talk about actually what that issue was and how it's being resolved, and why it's so important to work with good clients, good vendors, good trade partners that stand behind your brand, stand behind your quality to work through issues and concerns that our customers may have. So check out this slider. So we're standing here in the great room, and there were a lot of logistics. Again, all of these windows are aluminum thermally broken windows. These have triple pane glass from Cardinal. In fact, our next video, we're going to be walking you through the pivot door that is 8 foot by 9 foot, and then also the fixed glass, which is 8 foot by 9 foot. These are massive units weighing nearly 800 pounds. It was a monstrosity to install. We're going to come back to that, so check out that video upcoming. But standing here in the great room, there's a lot of logistics that go with any client, right? In this house, again, this is net zero. It's very unique to have a net zero build that has so much glass. There's a ton of glazing. But because of the value of these windows, the U value, because of the triple pane that we have, it's very similar, it's very close to a 2x4 insulated wall. So we're not losing a ton of the insulated value. We're compensating for a little bit of that energy loss, because again, a 2x4 insulated wall is not the same capability and performance of our ICF walls and our R50 SIPS truss. But we have overhangs, a lot of overhangs to protect the windows. You know, thermal breaks we talked about in earlier videos in the concrete slab on grade. So any thermal breaks are protected. And then we also have these awnings that we're going to be installing out here. They're louvered awnings that will protect, especially the south-facing slider. But what's really neat about these sliders, again, as we're working through our client, it's really important as you're working through design to understand, you know, indoor-outdoor living is a big part of our business and our culture and our brand here in Phoenix and Scottsdale. Why? Because as you can see, it's in the summer. We're in August now. Again, I'm not sweating. It's not overly hot. It is a little warm, but because of the monsoons, it's a little humid. But again, these sliders will be open. Kids will be going to the pool back and forth. Clients will be using the pool on the negative edge, looking out over the desert. But again, in the winter, these are open all the time. And a lot of people have concerns in other parts of the country, you know, for bugs, you know, coming in, and there are options with screens on multi-sliders that we can do, you know, and install to prevent that. Regardless, as you can see here, as we're working through our client, their indoor outdoor living, for them logistically, as we start working through the furniture plan, you can see a lot of glass. What was really important is that these windows slide both ways. You know, a lot of times you may have all the panels that slide to one side and then they are stationary, but these actually go back and forth both ways on either side. All four of these systems can be multi-slid either way. And again, because this is ICF, we're not going to pocket these, and we don't have the space either. But what's really neat is you can see here, this can open left to right. You can come out, again, these can all stack, so these can all open this way. Again, from this side, very similar, we can open this way, so if the client wants to open, and they can stack in the middle, they can stack on the left, they can stack on the right. So these slide very easily for our client. You can also automate these. Automation can run anywhere from 6 to 11 grand per multi-slider, so it really varies depending on logistics, size, weight, and again, accessibility. So again, these slide either way, but let's talk about something that's really important. This comes to the customer service. When you're looking at things on plan, right, as we mentioned, our window company, and it wasn't Benelli, but you know, behind the scenes as you go into CAD and you're doing shop drawings. So in the office, you know, back end who are not in the field, you know, as they're working through, you can see that both of these are consistent in this way. Is that the first panel stands proud, or it's outside on the far edge, and then they each stack closer to this column. So you can see this final fourth panel is close to the great room, it's close to this panel. So essentially they ran that same configuration this way. It starts on the outside, you know, and works its way in all the way there. Here's the issue, right? Or the concern from our client. You know, it's just one of those things that can be easily overlooked, because mentally on plan you may be thinking, okay, these are all gonna line up. Now, but when you're sitting here in the great room and you're looking at this column, right? If you're standing here looking at this column and this one is forward facing, it's at the front of the column, and this one's at the back, they don't line up. You can just see looking at the track, it looks a little odd that here the door's flush with the track. Here you can see all the track, right? The 3 panels as it goes to 2 and then 1 and then 0. So now logistically, how do we work through this, right? It's not really anyone's fault. You can point blame, and this is why working with good vendors is important, because having a good vendor that's going to stand behind their work and say, look, we can see how this could be misunderstood. We agree this panel should be here at the front. They line up, and then we stack down. So essentially they're reversed, so everything looks consistent on both sides. There is some work. I mean, fortunately, we can keep the track. The track stays the same, but these sliders have to be switched out and swapped out. And so we can still move forward with production. We can keep these in. We can drywall. We can enclose the house, work on the cabinetry. And then when the new doors come in, we can swap those out. There's a cost, though, right, to these doors. And so fortunately, you know, Pella and Benelli, they're a brand that stand behind their work, right? They're going to look at the lifetime of the product, the customer satisfaction, and they've always stood behind. We've had it, not issues, but there's always things that come up right with thresholds, and they've always stood behind that, and that's why they're a premier partner of ours. And so grateful to them. They're going to work on this and make this change for the client, fix this, bring it to the inside. But again, this will now allow, the original concept was having these all open and slide as they will, you know, on either side, from the kitchen to the great room going out here, and then also to the backyard. So now let's show you this pivot door, and let's show you this entry fixed panel and how heavy these were to install.